registered for this session. Today we're going to be hearing a presentation from Connie Harrington on skills identification and communication, and I'll introduce Connie in just a little bit. Let's talk about the agenda that we'll be following today. We're first going to hear a little bit about capital technology. Now, many of you I see from looking over the roster have joined us for other sessions, so this is repeating information for you, or you're even an alum, such as I've heard from some of you. But we want to cover a little bit, and then we'll talk about session pointers. I'll introduce the presenter and then we'll get right into it. The majority of our time together is with the presentation. Following the presentation, we'll have the opportunity for Q&A, and by the way, we'll do that through the text chat. I'll talk about that in a moment. Following the presentation and the Q&A, I'll start to wrap up things talking about our on-demand webinars. This is the last webinar of the 2021 academic season. We won't have any more webinars through the summer. We'll start in late September again. So I can't talk about upcoming webinars because we're still working on the fall schedule, but I will talk about what you can watch on demand. And then I'll talk about how to get a copy of the recording, the slides, and a certificate of participation for those that would like to have one. Just a little bit about capital. And again, I recognize, for example, Cindy Casey mentions in the text chat that she's actually a doctoral student at CapTechU, so she knows a great deal about our organization. But Capital is a nonprofit, private accredited university physically based in Laurel, Maryland, and we were established in 1927 in Washington, D.C., hence our name, Capital Technology University. We've been around for a long, long time. We will celebrate our 100th anniversary later in this decade. We're a fully accredited university. Our accreditation comes from the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. For those of you that may not be familiar with accreditation in the United States, regional accreditation is the highest level of accreditation available to any college or university in the U.S. And we are accredited through the Middle States Commission on Higher Education, the regional accreditation agency that handles all of the states around us. We're also authorized and recognized by the state of Maryland to confer degrees all the way from our 2-year associate's degrees right up to our master's and doctoral degrees, our Doctor of Science and our PhD degrees. We're not here to talk about any of those degrees today, except in the context that in her role, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, our presenter today helps our students who have come through our programs to find the kinds of jobs that will secure their future. And so in that sense, no matter what degree you're looking at Capital, we can help you propel your future with it. A few session pointers. We'll answer questions via the text chat, and we'll do that at the conclusion of the presentation. But you can post a question at any time in the text chat. I'll be monitoring it, and we will corral all of those and handle them right at the end of the presentation. We've allowed ample time to do that. Microphones and webcams are not being activated for participants in this session today. We'll be sending a link to the recording as well as to the slides, and we'll send that to all registrants, even those who are not able to join us for the live session today. It'll also be available, the recording will be on our webinar webpage and on our YouTube channel. And we make available a participation or attendance certificate. It's available upon request. I'll send an email out to all registrants and participants, and then it'll give you instructions on how to obtain that certificate if you wish one. With that, I want to get right into the presentation. I'll get my notes out here so that I know what I'm talking about. Our presenter today is Connie Harrington, and it will be on a presentation called Skills Identification and Communication in Promoting a Successful Career Path. Let me talk just a little bit about our presenter. Connie Harrington is the Associate Director of Career Development and Employer Relations at Capital Technology University. She's a certified job and careers transition coach and a job and career development coach, and has over 15 years of experience in the areas of career development, career transition, and career management. She performs the roles of coach, trainer, facilitator, and employer liaison for both students and the university. Additionally, Connie has extensive experience in resource management. She brings a wealth of job-specific information and a 360-degree perspective of the employment process to the students. She has a background in higher education and received her bachelor's degree from McDaniel College in Maryland. Connie also holds long-standing membership in several associations and chairs the board for the Association of Continuing Higher Education. She believes in building meaningful partnerships with students to deliver results in helping them reach their goals. And with that, I'm going to give control to Connie Harrington for her presentation. Take it away, Connie.
Thank you, Bill. Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to present the importance of skills and identification and communication in promoting a successful career path. Today, I want to discuss how to break down the process of employment and employability and show you the importance of identifying your skills and how to use them in planning your career and the way that they are used in our employment process. So as Bill mentioned, I do have a career in career management, but I also was in human resources. So that is how I can give you that perspective, that 360-degree perspective, because I have sat on both sides of the employment table and can help you with how skills are identified on both sides of the table. So we will begin with how what we're going to cover today in our agenda. Let me get to the next slide here. Whoops. Okay. Get back on track here. There we go. So our agenda is going to first start covering why the skills are important and how you can find the skills, the types of skills that we have, the best way to communicate them. Also, how you can assess what skills you need and the qualifications of your particular occupation. And then do you need any additional education and training? And then how would you go about your career plan for not just now, but your future? So we want to go to the next slide. We'll be discussing about how you're going to identify your skills. I'm sorry, my little advancer is not working. Okay, so there are certain factors that are involved, and you might have heard these terms used before. You hear from a lot of employers, you'll hear about skills gap and how they can't find employees to do these certain skills. And then you also hear on the job seeker side, reskilling and upskilling, and what those mean to remain employed and what you need to do with those things. So we're going to go over the definitions in a minute, and then talk about how that's related to your career plan or managing or advancing your career, and then how do you determine what training and development that you need. So these are all interconnected. So in defining our skills, we want to first talk about the skills gap, and that is really the difference in the skill required on the job and the actual skills possessed by the employees. So you'll hear, like I said, employers talking about, we can't find anybody to do these skills. And then that will bring you into the question for you is, do I need to keep my job or to advance in my occupation? Do I need to reskill, which is to update my skills or maybe be retrained in something, or upskill, and that is to maybe go into a promotional type training for your occupation. You could have to maybe take some classes or courses or even get an additional degree. So those are the types of classifications that you need to look at while you're trying to plan this. Okay, so basically the skill sets are broken into 3 categories. So in identifying these, you have your key skills or essential skills or core skills. Those are the things that you earn through experience or education. And they generally are the things that you're looked at for as far as your evaluations go, to see if you've got measurable results. Then you have your transferable skills or your soft skills or your analytical skills. And those are the skills that most people have, and you can carry them from job to job, and they are in most jobs. And then the technical or computer skills. Now, for these skills, those are pretty much self-explanatory. They're the skills that you need, whether it be computer skills or those certain things that are computer technically related that you do in your job. So we're only really going to talk about the first two skill sets. Right, so the soft skills, I'm going to start with that because a lot of people, especially if you're doing your resume or you're trying to write a job description, if you're an employer, you have to define what those skills are that people need. So we have things like time management, customer service, you have communication skills, stress management, those type of things, leadership skills, and those will be identified in the job description. And then we have our key skills, and those are the things that are also identified in a job description, which include these 4 factors, things that are involved in learning or creativity or technology or business. So those are those specific skills that you have to learn for your job and how you go about doing them. So looking in these 4 categories, you want to pick, what do I need to express as my skill set for me doing this particular job. Okay, so in that, when you're applying for a job, you have, on the one hand, the employer is writing a position description. So that is on your left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side is someone's resume. So what you should be doing is looking at the skills that the employer is requiring. Okay, so what they have in their description and making sure you're expressing those in your resume. So this is how that would look while you're doing that process. All right, can't advance my screen. There we go. Thank you, Bill. So I wanted to kind of step back a little bit and explain then how are these skills defined in a job description, and how are the employers getting them? Are they just making them up, or how are they determining, what I need to do in this job? So if we go back to the Department of Labor, they created a dictionary of occupational titles. And that dictionary of occupational titles has the description of over 13,000 different types of work in them. They created this in 1938, and they've kept it going. It's still going now, but in a different format. But the actual book ended in the 1990s. So this book was created by job analysts who went around US observing jobs, recording the work and what was involved and what they do. And they established educational levels, skill sets, and everything you need in that particular occupation. And as time went on, they updated it. So now they have used this not only to help with writing job descriptions and employers to do that, but as part of information that they need, for example, workers' comp cases, employment labor law cases, even unemployment cases. I did work in the unemployment office, and you are categorized by this dictionary of occupational titles when you file for unemployment, and that's how they see if you're applying for jobs and if you've met the qualifications and those kind of things. So they use this information on a regular basis in different ways. Right, so ONET is the new dictionary of occupational titles. And so they've taken this and they've upgraded it and updated it. And it is used to support the DOT and other resources that people use. So one of them that most people are familiar with that uses this ONET for descriptions is the federal government. So this actually, all of the descriptions and how this is used most is by the jobs in the federal government. So I wanted to go to the site, if we can bring up that ONET site, and just look at it for a minute to see what it does and how it looks and how it's set up, so you can understand a little bit better what I am talking about. So if you see on the screen, you can do various things on here, and it talks about ONET and the different things that you can do. You can look directly at a job by searching here. You can look at a particular occupation by going in here, doing advanced search and crosswalk. So they have a lot of different things. So I wanted to just show you, if you could go to, I would say I would use the career clusters because that groups things together. But when we go to that, you will see it will give you a list. And with the list, I'll just go to this first thing here. Okay, and so now you see a list of all of the jobs under that category. So if you notice, there is different numbers or code by each of these jobs. And so the first set of numbers is the broad industry. So like I picked the construction field, that's that larger number. And then it's broken down into a secondary number, which narrows it down more. And then finally to the number assigned to that job. So when you see postings, you will see those numbers on the posting. And if you open up any of the jobs, you will see that everything that you're looking for, the tasks that are involved, the technology, the outlook for this position, wages, and also it gives you in here the KSAs. And hopefully that sounds familiar to people. KSAs are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are required for people to have in government jobs. They have broken down what they are. So they're telling you what the skill sets are. And so when you are applying for a government job, they are relying on you to use these skill sets. So the other thing they also are relying on when you're doing that is to write your answers to their questions in this KSA format, which they use the term outside as stars. So that stands for situation, task, action, and results. So when you're writing your description, you should be using that star method. Okay, so I think we are okay to close that now. Like I said, this is used for employers to help them with determining levels of employment, whether you're going to be hourly or salaried. So all of the employment law comes into play in this area as well. Okay, so our next slide. I'm sorry, Bill, can you bring me to the next slide? Thank you. Go one more. Okay, so this is kind of the process on both sides of how this works. So you have the employers identifying the skills for each job and outlining them in the job description, and then they're defining what the requirements and qualifications are. And then the recruiters, when they have open positions, they're going to take that job description, they're going to write a posting, they're going to then put that into their system. That's usually an applicant tracking system. And that applicant tracking system is going to search for the skill sets that the job description has in the system. And they're going to set up those parameters and search the resume for those skills. Now, if we go to the employee side, the individual who's writing the resume may not have listed those skills. And so they're not going to get a job because the system's going to kick them out because they didn't match those required skills. So you see how the arrows go back and forth because these things can go either way. And so really what we want to start with is identifying what the skills are. Do I need more skills? So how do I do that? I'm going to look at the job description. And in that job description, it's going to tell me what those requirements and qualifications are so that I know, do I have them? If I don't have them, what do I need to do? Do I need to get more training? Do I need to get additional skills? So I'm going to identify my skills, and then hopefully I'll be putting them in my resume. But if I need to get more skills, then I need to go back and revise my career plan. So this is kind of the cycle that you need to go through when you're thinking about employment or career planning, and what you want to do for your future and to set your goals. Okay, so that may involve some assessment. You might need to say, what do I have versus what do I need? And that will help you then identifying that gap. Now, the employer, on the other hand, is going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be assessing their employees, and they're going to say, okay, what skills do they need or what skills don't they have, so that they can see what the skill gaps are. So once those are identified on your side and on their side, you might need to sit down and talk about, do I need additional courses? Do I need to get a certification? Do I need to continue my education? At the same time, you may have the employer, hopefully they have succession planning or assistance in helping with getting that retraining. So they might have tuition assistance, they might have a promotional plan, they might have succession planning, bringing people up to the next position. So that will be where human resources will come into play with career management. And then what do you need to stay relevant? So from time to time, you need to check your profession to see what are the skill sets that are out there now that I need to have, because you might have differences or changes that have occurred, and you need to have maybe an advanced degree or some additional computer skills or some other type of training that you would need to stay relevant. So you want to make sure that you are doing these factors and keeping up with what your career is demanding. Also, there's people who maybe want to switch careers. Maybe they thought, oh, I don't really like what I'm doing anymore. I really want to change, but how do I go about doing that? And so they need to reassess this and come up with, what skills are different in the job that they have versus the job that they want to get. And then how can I apply those skills to get a different job or a different career? So that involves also removing deterrence. So everybody who is in the job market or in employment in general will have some deterrence. So it might be your age, and it can be age on both sides. So older people might feel they have deterrence. Younger people might feel they have deterrence. There might be people who have disabilities, so they have deterrence. So, but this deterrence can be all overcome by being able to present the fact that you have the skills that are required for the job. So a lot of time, it's really not what people think is the deterrent that's bringing the issue to them. It's they don't have the skill sets that they need because maybe something has advanced or something has been removed. So for example, I had a client at a position that I had in an outplacement company who worked at a bank, and the software that they used or the system that they used is now obsolete. And they didn't get and did not want to get the training to be reemployable in that field. And so then had to decide, do I want to stay in that and try to find something when I'm no longer qualified, or do I try to find something else? So those are the type of things that you need to think about in making sure that you can remove any issues that you have. I'm sorry, Bill, can you move my, thank you.
Connie, before you go on, several people have commented about the some of the slides seem out of focus. I do apologize for that. That is actually an internet bandwidth issue that is occurring at our source here, and it is causing that to be a little bit fuzzy. We do apologize for that. The recording will not be like that. I'm looking at the actual session as we go along, the slides that we're using, and they're crystal clear. So if for some reason you can't see a particular word or set of words, have no fear. I'm going to send you the slides. You'll be able to look at them. Plus, it'll be clear on the recording. Thank you, Connie. Did not mean to take that interruption long, but
that's okay.
I'm going to go ahead and mute myself again, and we'll continue on.
All right. So the importance of identifying your skills then also equates to, you know, what your career is going to be and your career plan. And if you find yourself sometimes overwhelmed as how am I going to do this if I do have to get more training or more skills, and how can I go about reaching a goal that I feel that might be too big or unattainable, you can still do it. And I liked this video with this SMART method because it kind of explains a way that you can take these goals that may seem unattainable and make them more manageable. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video. It's a very short video.
Developing a career plan can help you outline a clear path as you begin looking for a new job. While it's important to set meaningful career goals, you might become discouraged if these goals are too difficult to achieve. Try using the SMART goal method to help you create realistic and attainable career goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Specific. It will be much easier to reach a specific goal rather than a general goal. For example, a general goal might be, I will learn how to use Microsoft Excel. But a specific goal would be, I will complete an online Excel tutorial. Measurable. Ask yourself how much you want to accomplish and how you will know when you've reached your goal. For example, I want to increase my sales figures by 20% this year. Attainable. While you shouldn't make your goals too easy, you don't want to make them too difficult for yourself either. Goals that are not realistic and attainable are difficult to stick to. Relevant. Make sure that your goals really matter. You shouldn't spend time on goals that aren't relevant and important. Timely. Make sure your goals have clear time frames. For example, I want to find a job within 3 months. Without a deadline, you'll have no urgency or motivation to complete your goal. Meeting a goal feels good and should be celebrated. Whether it's a small treat or a big party, reward yourself for a job well done.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities.
There you go. All right, so I wanted to just summarize that, you know, skills identification is a standard part of employment, but on both sides, both on the employer side and the employee side, and that you know that your skills can help with identifying not only your career goals, but how you talk to people about your career goals, how you communicate them to people. So I showed you an example. The resume is one of them. Also through work is another example. You can be training someone. So having clear goals or having clear skills to describe to them, to teach them, and also help them with their career. So a lot of people who are managers who are not clear on these skills may have issues with how well the employee understands them and their jobs based on what they're being taught. So they are an important part of everybody's daily lives at work, and definitely can help somebody with being promoted. The skill sets that you're using, both transferable, and the key skills will be helpful with how you're going to plan your next move in your career. So on that note, I wanted to thank everyone, and then we're open for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Connie. And we have ample time for questions. Now, let me just remind everybody that the way we'll do questions is that just type them into the text chat. We'll answer all of the questions that we have. We have plenty of time to do that. We don't have to go for a full hour, so if we don't have questions, we'll end a little early. But we do have questions. I want to start with them right away. Jaishon asked a wonderful question. She said, I'm getting my master's in cybersecurity, but have no prior experience in IT. Any suggestions on selling myself to companies to focus less on my lack of experience and obviously more on her specific content of her master's degree?
Right. So yes, that is a challenge that a lot of people have. So that's called recareering. And what you would want to do is identify the skill sets in the new occupation that you want to get into and what you do not have. And those are the things you want to try to make sure you're gaining through your education. Or if you have to take some other courses like certifications, that would be what you would want to plan. But in the meantime, on your resume, you can start matching the skills of the occupation that you are currently in versus the occupation that you want to be in, because you will have skills that are matching and are transferable. So that little example with the resume and the job description, you would want to start doing that and to plan out what you need to get in order to make that transition more viable. And so, whether it be getting a part-time job in that industry, the new industry, or even because it might be harder to get the full-time job without the experience, you could also just get into the industry that you want to get into in the type of work that you're currently doing, and then work your way up in the company based on the skill sets that you're learning.
Jaishon, I might be way off, but I would think in the cybersecurity world right now that if you've got a master's degree in cyber, that there's going to be a company that will welcome you with open arms. I might be wrong on that, but that's my observation. Let's take this next question here, which is from Ty. How would how would this differ for applying to jobs that are not federal, that is at nonprofits or startup companies?
The process is still the same. So you would still want to match the skill sets and see how you match what the requirements are, and then making sure that if you don't have what they're looking for, that you're trying to gain those skills. And let me just also add for both the last question and this, the career advisor is a good person to help with this. So if you're in school, that person would be the person that you would want to come see or go see to assist you with this, because it is a process that you may not be familiar with. So if you are not in school, you can hire career advisors to assist you, and they should be able to help with the same format. So they can help with assessing your skills if you're not sure what you want to do. If you are getting a new occupation, helping you with identifying those skills that are the differences in the skills and what you need to get more training in or more experience in. They can help with the job search process, helping you write your resume, helping you with interviewing. So having that person there can be a great relief to somebody who is not sure what they need to do.
Thank you. Let me put my video back on. A question that I have is, I noticed that several of our viewers today are alums of Capital Technology University. What career services, if any, are available to an alumni? Obviously, you work primarily with our current students, but are there any services that an alum could call you about?
Yes, we do have career services for alumni. So you have access to most of the resources that you had as a student and are able to contact me and set up an appointment and be able to go over any of these issues that you may have. I can definitely assist with that.
All right, thank you. Another question that I had was, I noticed, not in this grouping here, but overall, I've seen when I've been in situations where I was hiring employees and earlier in my career, that sometimes people use a very generic resume, and others have a very targeted, specific to that job and that company resume. Um, Talk just a little bit more about resumes and how you can keep them so that they are noticed. You talked a little bit about this, about the keywords, but a little bit more on the resume process.
Okay. I use a format that is new, that is not the standard format. And in that format, it helps segue between what the employer is looking for and what you have in a summary. So the summary describes, you're looking for this, and you're saying that you have that. So you're utilizing from the description the keywords that they are using in their description. And hopefully then you'll take from those keywords from your summary, and you need to show where you have them in your resume. So for people who are just starting out or who are transitioning, you might want to then, after the summary, start with, well, for everyone, I would say start with adding your technical skills. So what computer skills do you have, or if it's engineering, what skills do you have that are related technically or computer-wise to that? And any certifications that you might have. And then the next section I would go to is your education, because you're relying on that as the experience that you have in that particular industry. So for new and students and transitioning people, everything that you are currently doing would need to be in the top third of your resume, because that is the focal point for employers. So your work history would then be whittled down to what is necessary or relevant to that employer. So you don't need to include everything that you've done. You just need to include what's relevant to that employer. So your resume may need to change every time that you are applying to something to fit what you're applying to and include those skills. Because if you're going through that applicant tracking system, it's not going to put you any further if you don't have the skills identified. It will kick out your resume. And that's why so many people get discouraged with their job search, because they're not hearing back from anyone. And that's due to the fact that they are not being picked up. So, that part of the process would be the smaller part that I would say concentrate more on networking to make that process faster, because that way you're talking to people about your skills. It's a little bit easier than trying to put them on paper, but definitely would put in that order. So education, if you're new, then you would want to also put your coursework on there, because different schools' courses are not the same. So the employer won't really have an idea of what you actually learned unless you've identified your coursework. And then for experience purposes, the next thing I would say would be any projects that you've worked on, because that's direct experience. For those who are just graduating, then you would want internships on there. So,
all right, go ahead.
So the placement of the information is also important.
Thank you. Yeah, that does answer an underlying question that I've had there, is how specific and targeted your resume should be. And of course, it depends somewhat on the job, but in the main, the answer is very. I mean, it has to hit on all of these to be picked up. Ty asked a very strong, excellent question. He says, how will I talk about job relevant volunteer opportunities or coding boot camps on my resume?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it again?
Sure. He wants to know, how does he talk about volunteer opportunities that are job relevant, or coding boot camps that he has participated in?
Okay, so those would fall under, you can put the things that you've participated in, you can put that under projects, or you can put it under extracurricular activities. But that usually goes on the bottom. So if it's something that's relevant and you want to put it up, I would put it under projects or if it's part of your education, you can put it under there. But volunteer work, you can put internship/volunteer work, or you can put the volunteer work instead of the internship if you only have that, and put that above so that it's in the relevant area.
Okay. Are there other questions? Okay, here's a question that just came in. All right, I guess not a question, just a comment from Logan that he has to leave a little bit early. All right. Connie, I did notice something when you were showing the ONET that caught my eye. When you were in the construction field, one of the job categories is explosive experts. And I don't know, it tickled my funny bone a little bit to realize that is actually an occupation. The more I think about it, obviously someone in mining or in certain areas of road construction does need to know how to handle explosive, but it's not a normal job that most people would say, I'm going to go blow something up this morning, honey. But nevertheless, other questions, other comments or questions? Who is the career contact at CapTechU? I think we are talking to them, Dr. Burton, right? Right. So if you want to reach out to Connie, you'll notice on the question block here that I've actually put her email address. All of our webinar speakers are more than happy to continue a dialogue outside of the webinar about the issues that they've covered in the presentation. And Connie would be an excellent choice for you, Dr. Burton, for a career contact. I don't want to prolong this. We are at 12:42. And but if there are other further questions, we'll go ahead and grab them at this time. Otherwise, we'll let you all go. And I do want to say how much I appreciate Connie Harrington for being our presenter today. I'm going to leave the contact or the chat open for a second, but go ahead and move on toward a wrap up. And again, if there are other questions, we'll come right back to them. This is the final webinar of our 2021 academic year. That means we have no more webinars coming up through the summer. We will start up in late September again. We're working on that schedule now. In the meanwhile, we have more than 20 webinars in a variety of topics on our on-demand website. And if you just simply go to captechu.edu/webinar-series, you can see those. It's also on our YouTube channel, and so you can view these and watch them in that way. Even if you, by the way, even if you watch a webinar online and would like a certificate of completion, we will be happy to send that to you. Speaking of which, a copy of the slides and a link to the recording will be sent to all registrants. Watch for that email. In that email, it'll give you instructions on a certificate of completion. You basically just simply have to request it with the name that should go with that certificate, and we'll be happy to send that. And we make that available to both live session viewers such as yourselves and those who are viewing this recording on demand. Just simply reply to the email. Now, with that, this concludes today's webinar. I see no additional questions, so watch for that follow-up email, and be checking our website too for our ongoing and upcoming webinars that will occur beginning this fall. We're putting together a tremendous series of nationally known experts in a variety of areas, and we're collecting all of these resumes. We'll be looking for the keywords too, I might add, Connie, to put together a presentation that each month that will be worthy of the university. We thank you for this. I'd like to thank our presenter again. With this, we are officially done, and you may log out